Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk a little bit about my great-great-grandfather. My great-great-grandfather's name was John J Cashman. O'Cassin is the Irish name it was derived from. He came to the United States in the 1850s, in the early 1850s. He was from County Cork, Ireland. His family moved there. He was a boy. Of course, being Irish and being in New York City, he became involved in the fire department early on. Of course, when the Civil War came about in 1861, one of the things that happened was that a lot of the firemen in New York City joined the Ellsworth Brigade, the Zouaves, which were started by Elmer Ellsworth, who was Abraham Lincoln's student in his law office. My great-great-grandfather got involved with that. He was under the age of 18, but as many a boy would do in those days, they would write the number 18, put it in their shoe, and when they asked, "Are you over 18?" they would say yes, and they weren't lying. Well, he became part of the brigade, and then his mother found out. And that was the end of that. But an interesting thing about John J. Cashman, he was involved in the formation of the New York City Fire Department. In fact, he was the first battalion commander in the New York City Fire Department starting in 1866. He was involved in the fire department for many, many, many years. It's interesting. I went to the Firemen's Museum in New York City, and I found documents and papers signed by him. He lived until 1918, and when he did die, his funeral, or you might say his casket, was marched down Fifth Avenue as they bid him a farewell nearly 100 years ago. But it's fascinating to think that now, as we celebrate the 150th anniversary of New York City's fire department, paid fire department, that my great-great-grandfather was one of the people involved in the beginnings of it. It's pretty neat. I'm trying to learn more and more about him. There was a booklet written about the family. It was called Born Under the Bell. And it was about the Cashmans and how they were very much involved in the early days of the fire department. In fact, my great-grandfather, I believe, was a detective with the New York City Police Department. And so they were very much involved. I guess my family has been in the New York City area since the 1840s and 1850s. The Stanleys got there, it looks like, in the 1840s. The Cashmans in the early 1850s. And the other side of the family also arrived in the 1840s as well. So it's interesting. I'm learning and discovering. You know, I've dealt with history so much, and I've known the history of so many things, but I'm still trying to learn the history of my own family. So this is the year we celebrate the 150th anniversary of the New York City Fire Department, formed in 1866, shortly after those massive riots of 1863, the draft riots, which sadly were done by the Irish. I wonder if some of my family were involved in those. I don't know. But I know that my grandmother used to talk about visiting my great-great-grandfather at the fire department. And he'd be sitting in his chair in the front, and they'd be looking after the horses and whatever. It's a very different age, different time, and a very important part of history. And I'm very, very proud of my family having been involved in the beginnings of that.